Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 17th of July. My name is Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, are you feeling the cold?
Look, you know, Philip, I've got probably a little bit more direct European genes, so I'm used to the cold weather.
Well,
and,
I'm not sure that it's
fine.
European genes that you've got. I think you've just got a few more kilos.
That helps too.
It's
It's this time of year, I reckon I come up trumps with just that little few more schnitzels that I've got in my system.
All that
Phil.
goose fat that you've eaten over the years, all those schnitzels that your mother used to fry you in goose fat.
Exactly right. Well, who's the winner now? Who's feeling all right? You were a little bit cooked yesterday morning. You didn't come to the sales meeting with your little sniffles.
No question that goose fat is one of those great European insulators.
Goose fat. I've never eaten goose fat in my life. Anyway, we are here, Philip. It is the 17th of July. It is cold and getting a whole lot colder.
Yep.
But
having said that, the 17th of July, just so you know, is the middle point of it's the middle point of winter.
Winter solstice.
Well, if you think about it, winter is June, July, August, and we're at the halfway point.
We're right in the middle. You're right, Phil.
Can't wait to be complaining on GPTV soon about how hot it is.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that too, that complaint. Phil, let's talk a little bit about what's going on out there, because I've got to tell you that it wasn't a busy weekend.
You're going to tell you? Yeah, Jimmy Barnes, tell you. Go and tell you.
I'm going to tell you. I am going to tell you. What, you think I'm going to hold it back? I'm going to tell you.
Go and tell me.
I'm going to tell you. Phil, the weekend, I've got to say, that it wasn't a busy weekend, right, with a lot of auctions, but did we have some competition out there? Tell you what, nothing wintry or cold about the marketplace, Phil. It was running hot. Some of our auctions, it was unbelievable. Let's just talk about Huntley Road, for example.
Well, let's just talk about the market, Gary.
Okay, and the clearance rates. I'm getting out of order. I'm getting
so
excited.
So, viewers, we are in the middle of the school holidays, and school holidays, traditionally, you see the volume drop dramatically right across Melbourne.
Yeah.
Having said that, the clearance rate across Melbourne was not pretty. It was 57%.
Yeah, 56,
57%. We came in at 70%. So
71, I think. So put those towers up there, Phil.
Put them up there.
V56.
Little bit of boasting as usual.
Let's do a bit of chest beating.
Having said that, Gary, what are we saying to the viewers about a 57% clearance rate?
What are we saying? We're saying that it's a sign of a market that's changed, Phil. That's what it is. It's a sign of market change, no question about that. It is a changed market. It's a funny time, unusual time. But I've got to say, Phil, that well-priced properties that are being well marketed by the right agents are still selling well. And Phil, it's unbelievable. Like we talked about this in the sales meeting yesterday. I know you're a bit sniffly, so with all that great physique of yours, you're a bit sniffly. But Phil, I've got to say that in Huntley Road, for example, Huntley, let's just review this one. 102 at 1177 Huntley Road, sold for $501,500 against a reserve of $450, 5 bidders. There you go.
Well, I've got to tell you, nothing quiet or cold about that auction. One of the things that I will say about that,
there's some information going
right on top of the shopping centre, Gary, and there is no question you're going to see more and more of that as the years go by, where buyer demand is going to be saying, we want to live in an apartment and we want to live right on top of a precinct.
But how good is it living on top of a shopping centre? Because you've got cafes downstairs, you've got life around, you've got security, you've got neighbours, you've got people, you've got life, Philip.
Well, life. If you think about it, Sydney's been doing this for decades, Gary, by building infrastructure right on top of where buyers want to be. Melbourne's really just coming to the fore now. Certainly places like Huntley Road, Elston, Caulfield South, Carnegie, Huntley. You're going to see more and more of these buildings come through.
It's a European cosmopolitan lifestyle, Phil. And talking about cosmopolitan lifestyles, well, Carnegie is a cosmopolitan area, and we had a ripper of an auction there. I did come down and join you in Mernda Avenue for this block of 8 that was bought for, I think they said it was 300.
It's a really interesting story. Let's talk about it.
There was 4 bidders competing for this property. Now, the owner had bought it in 1983, Philip. Pre-capital gains for the princely sum, I think, of $183,000.
Now, I'm going to jump into this at this point because this is a really interesting story, viewers, because there is an old-fashioned rule of thumb that says property prices in Melbourne double every 10 years.
Prove it.
And I can tell you, well, I will prove it, but I can tell you every time we do this, it generally works out to be correct, regardless of the style of real estate in an apartment.
Little workings here.
So I've done a little working drawing here, Gary. So in 1983, it was purchased for $183,000. 10 years later, in 2093, 366. 2003, 732. 2013 should have been 1,464,000. 2023, $2,928,000. So you can see with a sale price of $2,700,000 $750,000. It's actually on track to
double every 10 years. And it didn't have to wait till 2023 because it sold for $2,750,000, almost that amount already.
Now,
which means it's gone up. All those.
We've been saying for years, viewers, that blocks of flats are incredibly good investments, because I'll tell you, the icing on the cake here, Gary, for that owner, is that in 1983 they bought it, and I don't believe
it was just before
they've spent much money on it since then. The refurbishments there have been absolutely negligible. So in essence, over that 30-year journey of owning the property, really that's just been this amazing cash cow in the first instance, and secondly pumping out this reliable capital gain.
And as they go up, and in fact, Phil, funnily enough, the rent, I think, is almost equivalent to the purchase price.
That's right.
In
returning $108,000.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think it was more. I think it might be more than that. Anyway, it was quite extraordinary. So great story. Still a property in demand, being bought by an investor client of ours. One of our clients, one of our landlords bought that, but a very competitive auction. Philip sold well in excess, and actually beautifully positioned on price, because I think your range was 2.5 to 2.75, and it sold for exactly 2.75. So there you go. Very nice and compliant. But what a competitive auction that was, Phil. Murray Street, we sold on the weekend, a one-bedroom apartment there, Phil. It doesn't have to be a big property to be competitive and to be a juicy sale for the Gary Pritt Associates team. Well done to Jeremy Rosens, who sold that for $394,000. So that's a bit of a wrap of a short and small sample of offerings on the weekend.
Wasn't a big weekend, Gary.
But then we had some open for inspections we had some opens filled with like 60 groups of people.
No, we had an open for inspection in George Street, Gary. George Street, Caulfield North, with 90 groups of people going through it. Now,
and that's a circa 3 million property.
Was a standout property, and certainly online just looks incredible. And if you're looking for something fabulous or just want to get some renovation or some building ideas, come along to George Street, because it's really the latest and greatest of modern architecture.
If you want to see somebody that does it well, come and see what our client has done there. Phil, before we get stuck into George Street, before we talk further, I want to introduce a topic of discussion today.
A topic of discussion.
And I always like springing on you. I never ever prepare for what we're talking about, but I want to talk about a topic of discussion, and that is Airbnb.
Yep.
I want to talk, because it's been in the news a little bit lately, about Airbnb.
Yes.
And of course, when the Airbnb craze, or I should say the phase maybe, came into Australia, I thought, well, we managed thousands of properties.
Yes, we do.
I thought we might lose a few of our properties, or many of our properties,
to the
contentious
Airbnb
issue. And I was actually a bit scared about it. Phil. I was a bit worried, a bit
nervous, wasn't in the slightest.
No, I was, because I thought, all of a sudden their landlord's going to say, look, I'm getting, $300 a week rent. I can get $200 a night or something like that, and go Airbnb or whatever the equivalent might be. So I thought all our properties going to run off our rent roll, Philip, and we'd be without any asset anymore, and we'd be back to waiting at the pancake.
Or working at the Victoria Market selling folding chairs.
But that was okay. I didn't mind that.
No, this is absolutely fine.
You can sell them Gary, you can sell those folding chairs back to the Manila basketball team.
I've read a lot about Airbnb, so I'm presuming you're wanting to open this up to discussion.
I do.
So I've read a lot about Airbnb, and the reality is Airbnb is only working for clients. If we're talking about taking it out of a 12-month leasing pool. It works if you've got some absolutely standout tourist position. So for example, Bondi Beach with a cracker of your view. Maybe it works there. Or if we're talking about Melbourne in the heart of the CBD with some incredible rooftop.
You would think St Kilda would be a very vibrant Airbnb location.
It is a vibrant Airbnb, but when you work out 365 days of leasing, when you work out the vacancy factor, when you actually put a value on your time, and this is what a lot of clients fail to do in the first instance, they put their time in for free, and yet the amount of work that goes in to the Airbnb, either just making sure that you're answering the emails, or making sure that the bathrooms are clean, making sure that you're delivering the keys, all of these things, if you put an actual value on your labour, we've seen that most Airbnbs return less than having it in the 12-month leasing pool.
And that's been proven, I think, because properties are coming back again, aren't they? So I think I tend to agree with you, unless it's maybe something in Glenelg or in Bondi or something of the equivalent value, and it's extraordinary, and you've got the time, then it might put you in front. But even then, it doesn't seem to be overwhelmingly so greatly in front.
You've got to have something that is so standout that you can charge a significant premium over what one would normally get on Airbnb.
It's almost like managing properties yourself. I mean, this is the other thing that, we're happy to open up the conversation, because I remember years ago, of course, the greatest story, and I don't know if this is myth or truth, but I'm pretty sure it's truth, that, you manage your own property, save the agent's fees, whatever that percentage might be, and, you manage your own property. There was a story of course, in Port Melbourne, where somebody had a house, they managed it themselves. They decided they didn't want to pay the agent the 7% or whatever the rate was. They managed it themselves. They found a tenant in this little sort of kind of cottage property. They got 6 months or 12 months rent in advance. They thought they were great. Yeah. The vendor's gone away, or the landlord, I should say, has gone away, come back, gone to have a look at their property, and they weren't so sure about where the property went because it had been actually pulled down. There was no more property there. I don't know if you know that story. That's a great story. So they did save 7% commission. They just happened to lose their home in the process.
Or, of course, the Airbnb, which becomes a party place.
Yes, that's right. And you know, I reckon there's plenty of those around.
There is no question.
Although they're rating people, so now I think all the kids pass on to the next name. Anyway, Airbnb.
Airbnb is a fantastic thing.
Think about it.
But if you're looking to ensure that your asset is well looked after and on top of it you're getting the maximum rent, the reality is the amount of work that goes into it is extortionate. And on top of it, you just cannot have a 100% vacancy factor. You can't have a 100% leasing factor.
Well, that's exactly right. There is some comfort in paying one leasing fee, having a tenant secure all year round, remaining in occupation, not wearing your place out. So it's an
interesting thing about wear and tear, because if you think about the wear and tear in an apartment, when you lease a property to a tenant on a 12-month basis, first of all, of course, there is a bond. Secondly, there are very strict regulations, and you generally have just, if we talk about leasing to a family, you have a family and their friends coming and going, but looking after it with care and attention. When you're leasing it to anonymous people on a nightly basis, even with the highest ratings of people on Airbnb, it's just this constant wear and tear of all the fixtures and fittings. So it's not what it's cracked up to be. If you ever want to have an offline discussion about this, more than happy to have a chat.
Airbnb. Don't believe it is the best way to go, Philip, necessarily. Phil, let's talk about auctions this weekend. We've got 5, and you, my friend, are doing none. So there you go. How about that? I've got 1 on Sunday. We can't get a gig anymore. I tell you what, I think we should be back at the Camberwell Market on Sunday, maybe.
It's time for a second job.
It's time.
Having said that, viewers, we are in the depths of winter. July is always the quietest month in the real estate calendar.
It's not like anybody selling much, is there, really? So it's not like we stink as a real estate agent not coming to us. It's just they're just not around, Phil. But we've got something extraordinary, Huntley Street, Phil, and I know Leora and Aviva are excited about this one, and they've sold in this block before. And these are, if I could describe it, as oversized apartments.
Oh, Gary, first of all, this is an iconic building, complete with a rooftop surprise. So this is a larger than usual apartment. Use it as 2 or 3 bedrooms, a big bathroom, a car space, and just immaculate in size. But that rooftop is quite extraordinary.
Everybody loves a rooftop surprise, Phil. We've got a surprise for those looking for an active competitive auction on Saturday at 11:30, because it looks like there's going to be one, Phil, in Arthur Street. Jeremy Rosens is very excited about auctioning this property. It's a great little street, Arthur Street. A lot of people don't know about it.
Do you know what, Gary? It comes off Hawthorne Road, and literally a hop, skip and a jump to Glenferrie Road. It's on Hawthorne Road between Dandenong Road and Inkerman. So you've got, on one end you're anchored by Caulfield Park, and the other end you're anchored by Glenferrie Road. So it is a great location. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 car space. Plenty of room and scope for improvement there. Lots of land, so a really good property and a really good street.
Good opportunity, a hot spot, Phil, there, Arthur Street. We have got some architectural masterpiece, Philip, going up. We've got an architectural masterpiece going up. Talk about innovation, style, fashion and luxury, Phil, right here at number 8A Thomas Street, Brighton East.
Gary, we love these 2-storey town residences because they really are, and we've said this many times, they are the future in real estate. This is 4 magnificent bedrooms and no shortage of bathrooms, because we've got 4 bathrooms as well. We've got car parking, a single lock-up garage and car parking in front. And this property is just completely immaculate, and you've got to love that vertical garden in the back garden. Just beautiful.
Absolutely, Phil, and that rounds out our Saturday. Sunday, we've had 2 auctions, Philip. I'm doing one at 11:30, but 10:30, we've got Jeremy Rosens back out there in Emma Street, right in the heart of Caulfield South, in this wonderful location. I love properties like this.
Gary, we know that properties like this perform brilliantly over time. This has been beautifully renovated, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 lock-up garage. That's the style of property that we know over time just does phenomenally well.
That's at 10:30, 11:30, Philip. I'm looking forward forward to auctioning in Flower Street. I haven't done an auction for a little while, I don't mind saying, Phil, between the break and everybody else that's getting the auction gigs. Philip, this property in Flower Street is wonderfully located, and what a fantastic looking property. I know that Joel Sir has been excited to bring this one to the market. He's had big numbers through it. Talk about it too.
Joel Sir and Daniel Fisher have done a great job there, Gary. This is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, a lock-up garage, a car space in front, so plenty of car parking. It is immaculate inside. We did GPTV there with Sally Zellman while you were away, Gary.
That's right, we did too.
I think this property's got timeless elegance to it as well, because it's really got a really timeless, stately facade, a great location there with the walking distance to Princess Park, the tram in Hawthorne Road, the tram in Glen Huntley Road. Doesn't get much better than that.
That's for sure, Phil. Now, you know I have a soft spot for Elsternwick, having been born and bred in this suburb. By the way, I went to the movies on Saturday night.
Yeah.
They've got, I don't know how how does Eddie Tamir do it? They've got 4 more screens, apparently, in the classic cinema.
Really?
I don't know where they go, in basements or in the ceiling or the sky, or I can't work out where it does.
That place just thumps.
It does thump, doesn't it?
Best,
well
I think of all
done.
of the cinemas I've gone to and go to in Melbourne, the Classic is my favourite cinema, because it's just got a great vibe.
Absolutely.
Because you've got the wine bar and the restaurant there, and
there's another restaurant, a gnocchi place or something, a couple of doors down. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
I've
heard it's pretty good though.
Of course, and the other one's at After the Tears or something. The vodka bar. It's just absolutely buzzing. Well, of course, I grew up in Gordon Street.
You did, yeah.
And when I used to go to the movies, and we paid our 20-cent ticket, and we had someone on the piano at half time, I think, and intermission in those days. It was one big screen, so it's it's 100 years old or something like that. But of course, Eddie's made it incredible. Anyway, off track, Philip. Here we are in Elsternwick at Oswald Street. A single level sanctuary, we've called this, 1 at 47 Oswald Street, and I'm excited to be here.
Gary, we had our first weekend this weekend, and we had literally scores of people coming through this property. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a double lock-up garage, which is highly unusual.
Absolutely.
You've also got 2 courtyard gardens. It's an immaculate condition, gorgeous kitchen, really good floor plan, and this is a great opportunity for all sectors of the market to buy here, because it would suit a young couple, it would suit downsizers,
great investment,
professional couple, investment, one of only 2, great location, and I think this is a really special property.
And I'm going to, on the way out, Philip, get a little lemon off that tree for you to make sure you put it in with your tea, so you just get that little bit healthier and stronger.
Very nice of you, Gary. I've actually been having honey with lemon and honey, and
sometimes brandy. A little bit of brandy.
No, I haven't been having brandy in it.
Fair enough. Well, I've had a little bit of brandy in it, and it was so good that I just took out the lemon and the tea and just had the brandy.
Great idea, Gary.
It's
great idea.
Phil, that's a big wrap on GPTV. Now, I want to do an interview next week, but I'm going to talk to you off camera about who I've got in mind for it, because I think it'll be.
It's not Stormy Daniels, is it?
You know everything before. How did you know? He's on to me, this guy. I can't bring any surprise to the table. Anyway, no, it's not Stormy Daniel, Philip, but it is going to be a stormy interview, that's for sure, with somebody in the area that I'm going to speak to you about anyway. But that is a big wrap.
Stay tuned next week for an interview.
Absolutely.
I've been saying it. I called it first, and I called it, and you actually followed through with some activity and some energy. Well done.
Thanks very much, Philip. We are in the middle of winter, but there is no lack of cold running through our blood, Philip. We're hot-blooded real estate agents ready for a big, big finish of the year. And by the way, if you're thinking of selling, we're now getting our sort of spring. Really, it's now time to be talking to us for spring, because
we're filling up September.
We are. We're going to have a busy September, Philip. And of course, October, November, always great months. But there's still plenty of activity, plenty of buyers, and plenty of action in the local marketplace. And we'll continue to bring you the news on GPTV. I'm Gary Peer.
I'm Philip Kingston. Have a fantastic week.